A long time ago, there lived a king who only had one leg and one eye. Everyone in the kingdom loved the king because he was kind and very wise. One day, the king was strolling through the palace, admiring all the portraits of his ancestors that hung on the walls. The king thought to himself that someday his children will walk through these halls and remember all their ancestors. However, there was no portrait of him. Due to his physical appearance, the king wondered how a painting of him would turn out. The king sent invitations to all the famous painters near and far. When they all came to the palace, the king announced that he wanted a beautiful portrait of himself, which would be hung on a wall in the castle. The painter who could carry out this assignment would receive a large sum of money. All the painters began talking amongst themselves. Many were filled with concern because they did not think they could paint a portrait of the king in the way that he hoped. They were fearful of disappointing the king and getting punished. Therefore, one by one, they made excuses and politely declined until there was no one left. Just then, there was a stable boy who happened to be passing by the courtyard. He approached the king and said, "Your Majesty, I will paint the most glorious portrait of you. I have watched the great painting masters while looking after their horses." The king doubted the stable boy, but he did not want to hurt his feelings. The king kindly asked, "Stable boy, tell me about the things that you have painted." The stable boy replied, "I have painted pictures of horses." The stable boy could see reluctance on the king's face. Then the stable boy said, "If I fail, just tell the people that I was practicing. I'm not a real painter, so they won't expect much from me." The king thought about it and decided that the stable boy had a good point. The king ordered the stable boy to come the next morning and paint his portrait. The stable boy came to the palace every day until he was finished. Nobody had seen the painting, not even the king. On the day of the big reveal, everyone in the kingdom came, including the famous painters from far away. They heard that a stable boy had been commissioned to paint the king's portrait. As the stable boy unveiled the painting, the king felt very nervous, but the stable boy was beaming with pride. The people were stunned, and no one said a word. They waited for the king's reaction. The king stood up and shouted with glee. Then the people joined him, and the king's men hoisted the stable boy upon their shoulders. The stable boy had painted the king sitting on a horse, and he was turned so that only one leg was showing. The king held a bow and closed one eye as he aimed the arrow forward. The king was very pleased with the painting and how the stable boy cleverly disguised his disabilities. The moral of the story: focus on the positive instead of the negative. Walk with confidence by finding creative ways to use your weakness to your advantage.